What's going on, guys? Matt here with Revolink, and on today's video I'm going to show you exactly how easy it is to install a Starlink mini dish in the back of your Bronco so that you can have high-speed internet anywhere you go. And you guys might already be familiar with our quick release mount for the Starlink Mini, and ordinarily on another vehicle this would be pretty easy to mount on the roof of your car using magnets or suction cups that we have available. However, since the Bronco does have a fiberglass roof, it makes it a little bit more challenging to mount anything on top. And that's really where the genius of this kit comes into play. By mounting the Starlink inside the vehicle, you actually keep it protected from all the elements, from tree branches, from theft. It's a really easy way of running a Starlink on your Bronco and not having to worry about anything because it's safe and secure inside the cab. Now, ordinarily, even if you had our quick release Starlink mini mount, there's not really a great place to mount this inside the cargo area. So what we did is we developed this kit, which is a fully bolt-on solution for all 2021 and up Ford Bronco four-door models. Our interior Starlink mount for the Ford Bronco is bolt-on for all Ford Broncos that have the factory threaded holes in the cage, which most Broncos do have. We're only going to need a couple of quick hand tools for this installation. The whole thing should take you just about 20 minutes to do. It's very simple. I'm going to walk you through it right now. Alright, so first things first, we're going to install our MOLLE panel onto the actual Bronco crossbar itself. You're only going to need two tools for this part of the install, and that's going to be a 4mm Allen key and a 10mm wrench. You can also use a socket if you like. I use a ratcheting wrench, makes it a little bit easier. Inside of your hardware bag, you're going to find a couple different bags of hardware in here. You're looking for the bag that has 10 M6 black bolts, washers, and lock nuts. We're going to flip over our crossbar here, and we're going to set the MOLLE panel inside of it so that it sits in there as if it was one piece. You want to make sure that you have all the 5 holes on both sides lined up. Now, one by one, we're just going to assemble these two pieces together using your bolts going in from the outside. All right, once you have all 10 of those nuts and bolts tightened up, your MOLLE panel is fully assembled to the crossbar. We're going to move on to the next step. Next, we're going to be mounting our quick release mount for the Starlink Mini onto the crossbar before we actually put it inside the Bronco. It just makes it a lot easier to bolt it on while it's outside the car. You're going to use the same two tools that we just used. It's going to be the 4mm Allen key and the 10mm socket wrench. You're going to find the bag of hardware that has 4 of those bolts, nuts, and washers in it. You'll notice on the crossbar itself that there is a single hole which is dead center of the crossbar. That's where you're going to want to line up the center of your Revolink quick release mount, and the holes that you're actually going to use are going to be these 2 holes right here. So there's 2 holes that are right underneath this rounded part. They're offset, and then the same opposite holes on this side. You're going to find the 2 holes that correspond to it on the Bronco crossbar. So you can see here, if you have it lined up correctly, that center hole through your crossbar should be just in front of this dish support brace right here. And you're just going to be doing the same thing. You're going to get your washers onto your M6 black bolts, and you're just going to drop them through all 4 of these holes. And once you're sure that all 4 of those are in place, we're just going to flip this up and then put the nuts on the other side. I find it easier to actually just do these bolts one at a time. So we're going to drop one in there, and then we're going to be able to flip this up and just get the nut on the back side. And just got to get it tight through the lock nut. And we'll do one more on the opposite side. Get your nut here, and just drop that right onto that bolt. Now that we have those 2 in there, I'm just going to tighten these 2 up a little bit and get them snug. If you want this to go a little faster, you could use a 10mm socket because it fits down in there pretty easily. At this point in time, if you want to install your Starlink Mini, you can also install it later on, but it does make it a little bit easier to put it inside the quick release mount while it's out of the vehicle as well. And the way you do that is just by popping these cam levers, making sure that's all the way open. You want to make sure that the wire is going to be going out to the adjusting side, so that's how you can orient the dish. Just drop it in place like that, and then slide it shut, and then just tighten these cam levers all the way down, keeping your dish nice and secure, and that's how it should look when it's all assembled. Now, before I put this entire unit inside the Bronco, I'm going to go ahead and put our wiring into the dish first, since I have it already in the mount. And what's great about this crossbar is that we already provide you with some zip tie holes on both sides, so no matter which way you're running your wiring on your Starlink Mini, you can actually keep it nice and clean. You don't have to worry about this cable flopping around up there next to your roof. So I'm going to go ahead and just insert this DC weatherproof end into the Starlink first, and then route our cable, run the zip ties before we put it inside the car. You guys are installing these zip ties, my advice to you is to leave a little bit of slack on the dish side because you want to be able to pop this in and out and not make it too hard for yourself. But as you guys can see, that looks really clean, keeps the cabling nice and tight, and you can just leave them a little bit loose so you can move it in there. I'm just going to cut the ends of these zip ties off and then it's ready to go in the car. And our next step is going to be installing these cage brackets in the back of the Bronco. So we're going to open up the cargo area here just to show you what we're working with. So as you guys can see here, I have a Bronco Raptor, so I do have this C-pillar brace that goes from one side to the other, and it's held on by these big M8 bolts. Now, if you have a Bronco 4-door non-Raptor version, you should have threaded holes where these bolts go into. You won't have the bolts themselves, but you should have the holes, and that's what we're going to use to install this. Some Broncos, especially the earlier 4-doors, do not have threaded holes in the cage. I've seen some 2021 models not have them, some 2022, even a few 2023s. For whatever reason, Ford did not put threaded holes in the cage at this location on either side. So if you do not have those, you're going to need to drill into this cage and you're going to have to install some threaded nut certs to be able to put those M8 bolts inside. As of right now, this kit only fits as a bolt-on for vehicles that have those threaded holes in the cage. If you have a Bronco Raptor, you're going to need to use your toolkit to remove those 4 bolts that are holding that brace together. They do have Loctite on them. They're going to be a little bit stiff. However, by just going very slow and using the IP40 bit on here, you should be able to get those out. I'll show you how to do that. Just go slow, and you're going to break the torque on those and then walk these all the way out. And again, just the ones that are holding it to the actual cage. We're not going to be reusing these bolts, but if you would like to hang on to them, I like to keep them just as spares because they do fit on other parts of the Bronco. Just in case you lose one or you need to replace something, these are good to have as spares. Next, you're going to look for your hardware bag that has 4 M8 bolts and washers inside of it. All right, we're going to start on the passenger side here, and the way you want to orient this kit is that you want to have the folded side facing in. So that's going to be your passenger side bracket just like that. And we're just going to drop one of these M8 bolts through that slot and just snug it by hand for now. Now that we got that one just loosely sitting there, I'm going to start threading in the second one. And again, you don't want to tighten these too much because you do have slots here that allow you to move that bracket in and out. So you want to make sure that that's still loose enough to be able to move by hand. We're just going to repeat that same process on the driver's side with this other bracket here. Again, you want the folded side of the mount facing inwards to the center of the vehicle. Again, you want this loose so that you can move it in and out here. All right, now it's time to put your crossbar in. Should be very easy. As you can see, there's already threaded nut certs inside of the crossbar, so there's no nuts needed here. They're already built into the mount. Basically, this just needs to go up and into place, and then you can just drop your remaining 4 M8 bolts through these with the washers to hold it down. And I'm just going to hand thread a couple of these first just to let it kind of hang in place, and then I'll go ahead and tighten everything down after. Now it's kind of just loosely sitting up here. I'm going to go ahead and assemble the rest of our bolts and washers. Drop these down. As you can see, I have this all loosely lined up right now. Nothing's tight yet. It's just sitting up here. The dish is in there already. And you can see that there's still some space between the roof and the dish. You want to get a little bit of airflow up there just so that this doesn't overheat and it makes it easier to remove out of the vehicle. And I'll show you how to do that later. But right now, I wanted to just get everything nice and snugged up so that I can make a couple of final adjustments, make sure that this is square and that all the surfaces are laying flat on top of everything. Make sure my wiring is out of the way so it's not going to get pinched by anything. And then I'm going to go ahead and tighten everything down. Remember guys, those M8 bolts are going to need a 5mm Allen key. So this is what I'm going to use to tighten everything down that I just installed. You don't need to over torque these, just get them nice and tight. And guys, as much as you want to save yourself some time and use a Milwaukee Impact or something of that sort to tighten these down, I urge you to just do them by hand because you don't want to risk breaking a bolt in here. That's going to create a whole other mess for you to have to deal with. And that's going to be a much longer install if you have to chase out a broken bolt. So just make sure you go slow and you tighten these up by hand, get them nice and tight, and just by hand is enough, just like that. Lastly, I'm just going to install these 4 bolts that are up here in our crossbar, holding it to the cage brackets. And same thing here guys, just make them tight by hand. You don't want to crank these down super hard. And just like that, your install is complete. You can see the Starlink Mini is up here tucked out of the way. You have your entire cargo area. It's almost like it's not even there. You're not going to hear any rattling. You're not going to hear any noise. This is very strong. I ran this 500 miles down Baja and we had no issues with it. I know it's hard to make out, but you can faintly see a blue light on the dish right there, meaning that your dish is on and the Starlink is working. So I'm going to show you guys how to get this dish out of this mount while it's in place without unbolting anything. You don't need any tools. You're just going to pop these cam levers. You're going to slide your bracket all the way out so that the dish is loose. But now that I got the dish popped out and it's out of the way, I'm just going to unplug my cable so that that's out of the way. And even with the Bronco Raptor, even with this brace, even with this fire extinguisher here, as long as the dish is out of the mount halfway, you can just maneuver it up and towards the back seat. So you want to go forward in relation to where the front of the car is. And just like that, your dish is out. Now the reverse is the same when you want to put it back in. You just slide this back, run along the roof, come back to center. You want to get half of it inside of your mount. So this part is inside the mount right now. And then I'm just going to spread the mount open again, drop it in place. And you want to make sure that your quick release mount is holding the dish nice and tight before you go ahead and just lock down your cam levers. And once they're both tight, your dish is in place and you're good to go. All right, guys, well, that concludes our install today of the Revolink interior mount on the Starlink Mini for the Bronco 4-door. And if you're considering this kit, I just hope that you saw how easy it was for us to install that Starlink Mini in the back of the Bronco, where it's out of the way, it's protected, it's not sitting up outside the vehicle on the roof where it can get damaged by trees or weather or even get stolen by somebody. I fully believe that Starlink is the way of the future for our adventures, keeping us safer, connected to emergency services, letting us stay in touch with our loved ones in places that we don't have cell phone reception, and enriching our adventures by allowing us to stream music, have entertainment, as well as being able to download maps in real time to keep you on the trail. And guys, I just have one favor. If you guys enjoyed this installation video or you have our products, the best thing you can do to help us out is just to share this video with your friends who are like-minded adventurers. We're a new brand. We're trying to get our name out there and show people the products that we're making and how to keep them connected while they're out on the trail. So the best thing you can do is just to subscribe to us and share this with your buddies. If you have any questions about this kit or any of our other products, please drop it in the comments below. Alternatively, you could go to our website, www.revolink.com. And you can also send us an email at support@revolink.com. Thank you for tuning in, you guys. We'll catch you out there on the trail.